The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for How to Effectively Scale ML and AI in Any Organization, delivered by Ella Halil, Director of Data Science at Shopify. Sorry for a little bit of the delay today. Great that everything is resolved and to see so many people joining this session. Ella, I'm sure there will be amazing session delivered. Just for the beginning, there might be some organizational questions. There will be short survey in the end of the session. Please take a moment of your time to fill it in. It'll just take a couple of seconds of yours. And as well, hashtag OGC you may use for sharing regarding your experience at OGC on the social media, and that will give you the chance to win an Apple TV and other cool prizes. And other than that, the Q&A channel will happen here and on the liveodc.com afterwards, after the session. Please leave your questions, comments, requests, anything to Ella, and she will take care of all of that. And without any further ado, thank you a lot for joining us once again. And Ella, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, and thanks everybody for being here. I am honestly thrilled to join you, and it's so amazing how far conferences have come virtually. It's such an amazing experience. So without further ado, let me maybe hop into who I am and what do I do, and then take it from there. So I'm Ella. I head the data teams in Shopify for revenue and growth. Roughly been in Shopify for close to 4 years now, which is it's been an amazing ride. If you don't know Shopify, let me give you a little bit of an intro. Shopify is a commerce platform. It builds an infrastructure to help people start their dreams and their businesses. It's been founded since 2006. It's definitely over 7,000 employees. We have over 1.7 million merchants in 175 countries. And like, there's a lot of additional information you want. But I think the biggest and most important thing that I want to tell you is that we do have a global mission. We actually believe that we are a force for good because we're trying to help build entrepreneurship, help small entrepreneurs to grow into bigger ones, building their dreams and reaching their financial independence. And for us to do that, we actually researched this, and we collaborated on a global economical impact research where we found that our economical impact is closer to 370 plus billion, 307 plus billion dollars of economical impact. So in itself, this is huge global impact. And the truth is that also tied to 3.6 million jobs created by Shopify merchants. So when we say we believe that we're a force for good, this is very true and very genuine. But the truth is, commerce is not easy, and retail is changing, especially after the pandemic. What looks like, well, what it used to look like before is not what it is today. And our mission is to make commerce better for everyone. And note that we're not saying e-commerce, we're talking about commerce in general. And that's our hope. And for us to do that, we need to build essential infrastructure that connects with every platform, every channel, and every device, because this is exactly what the merchants need to be able to build their dreams. And for us to do this, we're hoping to give our merchants competitive advantage that they only can get because they're on Shopify. So we want to use the power and scale and complexity of Shopify to help our merchants have this unique competitive advantage. And for us to do that, we build a lot of algorithmic and machine learning powered work to be able to do that effectively at scale, to help so many unique merchants in their unique journeys on entrepreneurship. So I'm here today and I'm going to be sharing with you 5 key steps to effectively scale machine learning and AI in any organization. And before I start on my 5 steps, I'm going to cheat a bit and I'll say I'll have a step 0 that is not counted in my 5. And this is such a foundational, essential thing that we need. Like, I would strongly encourage every organization to invest in. Understand your data. And I know that's simply said, but it's not. I actually is always surprised about how many companies do not really understand what what data they have and why. People do have metrics and track their KPIs, but they don't collect all their data points effectively. They don't have the proper telemetry and tracking. They don't understand what data available for them to collect. What is its properties? Is it univariant? Is it multivariant? What's happening to this data stream so that they can effectively understand what is the confounding variables behind a certain metric that is actually driving the change. Is it a lean metric? Is it true metric that is tied to a specific signal, or is it a metric that has, or a vanity metric, or a metric that has many confounding variables, so whenever it moves you don't know actually why it's moving? So understand the deep properties of your data. What's happening, why, invest in proper ETL, get your data, clean it, transform it, and load it into an accessible way. And this is literally step zero in any like machine learning and AI like thriving company. It's so easy for people to think, okay, I have a data scientist or machine learning engineer. They can just go on the side and do some magic. The truth is they will do something, doesn't mean that it's meaningful and impactful for you. So for you to have AI and ML at scale that is impactful, you really need to start at step zero, which is understanding your data. And understand the trends. What's driving it up? What's driving down? Is this seasonality? This is also seasonality. So it's changing doesn't make a big difference. But maybe this is an anomaly and it needs to be understood at better. So definitely we need to crawl before we walk, or we can definitely go like this amazing little kid who crawls/walks in the same step. So I'll give you an example of where we did this and how it was very helpful. So I'm going to share with you some information that we got out of and this information is accessible, which is called the consumer report, the state of commerce report. It's on Shopify's website. But if you look here, I'm going to share with you a couple of key insights that drove us to think about some stuff differently. So consumers, the first one is consumers are hesitant to return to online shopping. And then we have stats and data on why and what we observed in internal data as well as third-party data. We also learned that young consumers saw the highest shift to online spending and will change the way brands do business. And we've seen that, and we also saw the amount of change, particularly in different countries, and how that evolved. We also know that they are more likely, younger consumers are more likely to shop via social media, to make decisions based on the impact on society. Okay, so there is multiple pieces of nuggets there. And last but not least, the majority of purchases are actually happening on mobile. That drove us to think about, okay, 70% of conversions are coming from customers making purchasing, conversations are coming from customers that are making purchasing decisions. And accordingly, we introduced Shopify Inbox app. This is a Shopify solution that helps turn browsers, merchants who are just here to browse, into buyers using the power of chat, where to mimic or replicate something that you would have in real life experience, where you would go and talk to a seller and they will tell you the properties or make recommendations or something like that. This is an AI ML driven approach based on natural language processing. And if you look in there, you can start to chat with a buyer, and based on it, you can also decide to make a recommendation or help drive this purchase. And of course, the AI algorithm understands what interest you're looking for, what properties is there, and accordingly, they can make a proper recommendation similar to the experience that you will have in store. So Eureka moment number one, or aha moment, would be deep understanding of data trends is the foundation of machine learning culture. Don't run or walk before you crawl, take it one step at a time. Don't try to invest in ML and AI while you don't understand the trends, the behavior, and the properties of your data sets. Okay, so now you have that. Step number one, focus on solving real problems. And this is really important. The purpose of computing is insight, not numbers. And usually when you have data scientists or machine learning engineers in silo, just defining their problems. They will be interested in the complexity of the problem. The truth is, what you need to really focus on is problem-centric ML product strategy. This is what you need to invest in as a leader. You need to step back and think about what problems does my business have that can uniquely be solved using ML to provide this competitive advantage. So you need to think about it on what drives true unique impact to the business. Something that will move your bottom line, will give competitive advantage, will delight merchants, like something that will have this massive impact, and dial it up. So you need to focus on impact to solve the right business problems. Oh, sorry. You need to think about maybe developing more intelligent products similar to what I just shared with you, or even help with more intelligent services. So if you have customer support team or account management, maybe giving them information that will be competitive and will give them a more effective way to have better conversations with your customers can be a way to go. Smarter processes, automate repetitive tasks, or even automating manufacturing process if you can. So the key idea here is think about what will help improve your bottom line, what will help improve your business, and will help improve your experience, will help save. So like better processes, or more, or removing automated processes, better manufacturing, smarter processes, all of that can help improve your bottom lines. Intelligent products or intelligent services can either help improve your bottom line or help give much better experience. So something that you can really think of and quantify. And of course, as you think about all of that, think about the different patterns of AI, whether it's recognition, hyper-personalization, anomalies, autonomous systems, predictive analytics, conversation, and human interaction. Like, what is it are you planning to do, and how does that help with this? So like, do a mapping between these two to help inform your AI and ML strategy. So machine learning strategy should be anchored in the business problems. And this is an aha moment number 2. The second one is create the right team. Okay, so I head data science teams. I have a PhD in pattern analysis and machine intelligence. I'm an adjunct assistant professor at University of Waterloo. All of that will make me tell you, go hire more data scientists, machine learning engineer. Actually, no. I will tell you that if you have them, does not mean that you will succeed. Actually, most probably, if you have only data science or ML engineer in silo, most probably I will tell you this is why you will fail. The truth is, you need to build an ML-driven product based on a cross-functional team. So if you think about it, you need to have product managers, you want to have engineers, you want to have data scientists and ML engineers, you want to have UX, user experience experts. You need to have all of that as part of the cross-functional team that is building an end-to-end product experience. And I cannot stress on that enough, because the truth is, if you fall into the silo of one data scientist by themselves doing awesome work, the problem with this is it will not yield full impact. So structure the team to move away from siloed work into interdisciplinary one that drives full product experience. The third point that I have for you is build and productionize the models. So now you have your amazing, like you have the understanding of the data, you have your amazing strategy, you already build a cross-functional team, amazing. You are ready to ship your first few models and hopefully productionize it to drive impact. So of course, you will go through all the ML life cycle. I'm not going to go through it in here, because I'm sure you guys are all aware of it, which is like, choose your data set. What data sets do you have? What features do you have? Algorithmic work, what success criteria, hyperparameter tuning, all of that fun stuff you're going to find, and there's a lot of conversation on it. I will tell you the things that I think most companies forget to do as they're doing this. As any good product is, define your success criteria early before you start building the model. Don't try to fit a square peg in a round hole. Try to understand what problem you're trying to solve for the business, for your inner operations in the company or your customers, and make sure that you're solving the right problem. And then measure your success effectively. Try to avoid bias. Be clear, very clear about like what does success look like to solve this problem. So make sure that you gauge true metric definition. And then after you do all of that beautiful stuff and build the model and experience with it, it's time to fully automate it. So you need to think about how do you store your data sets to make it accessible and fast? What's the latency on acquiring these data sets? Make sure that you think about like what type of prediction you're looking for. What's the feedback loop for your model in production? What's your systematic alerts? How do you know that your model is still executing effectively in production? What if it drifts? You build it based on certain assumptions, based on certain distribution of the data, but then these assumption doesn't stand anymore, and there is like unseen or unforecasted drift. It becomes really hard to measure because your model is performing as you expect it to, but the truth is the underlying assumptions you built it on it changed. So you need to make objective metric tracking while it's in production so that it alerts you if things change. What ML toolkits are you going to be using for that? What is your tech stack to drive this? So after you solve all of these, now you need to remember to experiment, iterate, and enhance your product and its experience. So you build the model, you iterated on it, you ran it, you made sure everything is running, beautiful. But now you want to do this at scale. The first one took a really long time, maybe first few. So now it's time to really think about the ML workflow. So if you look at this ML workflow, you find that we have data acquisition, feature preparation, model development, model deployment and serving, and then performance management of the model. You need to invest in a strong infrastructure and reusable tech. So the objective here is to reduce the time to productionize any model and increase the number of productionized model and hopefully increase the users. So instead of having 1 or 2 or 3 ML teams that are focused on specific thing, you can actually scale that at large and do it at scale. For you to reach that step, let's not run before we walk. And I see a lot of teams falling into that trap, or like walk before we crawl, which is trying to go invest in this massive infrastructure without even productionizing their few first use cases. They experiment with their first few use cases, but they never fully productionize them. So here I really want to stress the order, because the truth is you need to understand what's the next, like what do you need and what's how your data is set up, how your infrastructure is set up to effectively be able to build the system for scale. And so this is one quick way of how we're structuring it and like we're setting it up. So like there is a ton of libraries out there, so you get to see like we're using Google ML platform. There is also many algorithmic and model building and productionizing systems. It is a very rich ecosystem, definitely. So you can definitely use something out of the box or build up from scratch or use open source and enhance. You also need to consider your need. What do you really need? You need a lifecycle management for the models. Do you have cases where you need online inference or just offline inference is enough? Because that also will change your complexity of your choice. What type of feature store you need, standardized deployment, what type of experimentation you're running, and how are you monitoring the platform? So again, setting strong ML infrastructure and reusable tech will actually require some startup investment that will pay off in the future. Last step that I'm going to be calling in my 5-step approach is manage bias and risk. Again, a lot of companies forget doing this as they're scaling. What happens, they build in production, they're excited, everything is happy, they shipped, they're seeing impact, their metrics are moving, happy, high five, and move. I will strongly recommend that you don't bolt on privacy and security, you build it as a first-class citizen. So think about it early, think about the conversation and making sure that it works. Build, like innovate responsibly, build a cross-functional team that with committees that assess manages for bias, because the truth is all our data sets might have different collections that might not be fully representative of every class of data that is there. So there might be inherent or like unseen bias in the data set. So how can you assess that? How can you observe this? How can you be tracking on it early? How can you have the right auditors make sure that your systems are performing in a safe, fair, and responsibly innovative way? So again, invest early in risk auditors and bias management to innovate responsibly. Don't bolt it on as an afterthought. So a bonus one is tell your story. Building a AI and ML culture is not easy. So remember that Plato said, those who tell stories rule the world. And the truth is people tend to forget or not remember. So if you give them a stat, they will read it and remember only 20% of time. If you just say it, they will remember 10% of the time, but the truth is they will retain and remember 80% of the time. So show them the impact, show them how it enhanced the experience and moved the metric and moved the bottom line. So with this is my 5-step secret. It's actually 7. Step 0, understand your data, solve real problems, build a data strategy anchored in real problems, create the right team, a cross-functional team, build and productionize the models, make sure that you systemize and automate and invest in long-term infrastructure, manage bias and risk. Last but not least, don't forget to tell the story. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much for listening. Much appreciate your time and your attention. Thank you.